Let's continue working on getting our fourth section finalized. We'll bring back our control curves into view, and what we'll work on first is getting some more minor details fixed up, and then we'll go into the main core of the lesson afterwards. So for one, if we scrub and check out the elbow controls, notice they're slowly moving upwards when we want them more still. So let's work on that. We'll select our elbow controls, and we can see that they need another pose in here. And we'll get that pose from frame 184, and we'll just use our middle mouse button technique to put our key on frame 156 by the time when the character has lifted the weight off the floor. So once we're at 184, let's middle mouse button click now on 156 and press Shift W. And now if we scrub, that finishes our sliding elbow control problem. And another thing I'd like to adjust is the hips. See, they're getting a little bit distracting as they're slowly rotating back. So what we'll do to fix that is select the control and go down to about the pose where our character is in his down position, ready to move the weight up. So if we select our center of gravity control, we can see where that frame is on frame 216. So once we're on 216, we'll just select the hips and just zero them out in their rotation channel. So when we scrub back, they're not only adjusted as they should be around this time, but the distraction is now removed from the hips. So we can go back and start working on the squats. And for the squats, what we need to do is add some follow-through movement. So we'll start with the head. We'll select it, and as we scrub through, we want to find out at what frames we need to add our poses. And remember, our squats do intensify, so that's going to be a factor as well. But let's work on that now. For our first fix, what we can do is delay this key on frame 156 of the head so we get a little bit more follow through. So we'll take this key on 156 and let's move it back about 3 frames to 159. If we hit play, here's what we get. Okay, so that's pretty good, but let's add a little bit more movement to the head so we can see more clearly the follow through that we're getting. So we'll just rotate the head in the direction that it was going, just a little bit more down. And translate it forward slightly as well, not much. Now let's hit play. Check out the head. Okay, so that's better. Nice and fluid. Now we need to work on the follow through for our squats. So again, as the body's going down, the head's going to move up. As the body's moving up, the head goes down. So we'll scrub to see where we need to add our next pose. For that, let's go to frame 163, and since the body is moving down, we're going to move the head up on frame 163. So go to the rotate X from the channel box and rotate the head slightly upward, not much at all. And then we'll translate it back a little bit as well. So here's the movement we get. As the body's moving down, the head's moving back. Now as the body's moving up, we'll go to about frame 170, and this time we'll rotate the head down. Oh, let me go ahead and undo that. Accidentally moved in the rotate X, rotate Y. We want to move in the rotate X, so let's go ahead and rotate the head down there. Remember to keep in mind the intensity as well. So we can rotate the head like that and scrub through to see if we like the movement. So now the character's moving up, then he's coming back down, so we're going to want to rotate the head back. So let's see, let's have that on frame 175 where the head is now moving back. So we'll now rotate it back a little bit more than we did before, and we'll translate it back some too. The body's moving down, and as it's moving up, let's go to frame 181, and we'll just rotate the head forward now in the X. Again, based off of the intensity, and we'll translate it forward. Great. So here's what we get when we scrub through. Head's moving down, but notice it's coming back a little bit too fast. Let's hit play to see how our movement's looking. So we're getting some snap at the end there that we need to fix. And what we can do, rather than again adding another pose, we can just adjust this key on frame 184. So let's select it and move it back a couple of frames. Let's move it back to about 186. Now's a great time to do a play blast to see how our movement's looking. We don't want to always rely on our animation or our playback in the workspace. So we'll find a more appropriate view and do a play blast. Here it is. So the movement's pretty good, but I think the head is moving a little bit too much in the rotate X. So let's fix that. We'll close out our play blast, bring back our NURBS curves, select the head control, and rather than doing our adjustments from here in our timeline, we can go to our graph editor. Definitely want to refer back to the graph editor as it is a great help. So we'll go to the rotate X, again adjust our view using Alt Shift and right mouse button clicking and dragging to the right so we have a nice view to work with. And for one adjustment, I think the head is moving a little bit too much as it's coming forward. Let's see the backward movement, maybe a little bit in the backward movement too. So what we can do is select these keys and we'll hit R this time, and R is going to allow us to scale our curves. Okay, so watch what happens when we hold Shift. Let's hold Shift and middle mouse button click and drag in the center of these keys at about right here, and middle mouse button click and drag down. Notice we're able to decrease the value of our keys by doing so. And if you want to increase, of course, you'd move upward by holding Shift and middle mouse button clicking and dragging upward, but we're able to decrease the value with that. And we wanted a more even decrease. That's why we positioned the mouse more to the center of these keys. So let's see how our head movement's looking now. You can check it out from the from our perspective view. Hit play and go slow. Okay, I think that's looking a little bit better, but I'd like to make a few more adjustments, and this time with these two top keys, and I'd like to just decrease their value a little bit more. So we'll need to make sure we're in one of our other manipulators, either translate or rotate, and we'll hold Shift and middle mouse button click and drag down to decrease the value of these keys a little bit more, and hit play. Okay, great. So that's looking better. And let's also adjust this key slightly, as our value should be increasing as the squats increase. So we'll just make a slight adjustment to this key on frame 175. We'll hold Shift and middle mouse button click and drag down to slightly increase its value. So if we hit play, great, our movement's looking much better. Let's now do another play blast to see more accurately how it's looking. We'll hide our NURBS curves, find a nice view, perhaps from right here. Here's our results. Great, so we fixed the follow through in the head movement, and now we need to add some motion to the upper body. So in the next lesson, we'll work on that and actually finish up the fourth section.